Welcome. We're so glad that you're here. Today we are going to start the final chapter. This is the forever story. This is what God has in store for eternity. We call this section the eternal state, and we'll be looking at Revelation chapters 21 and 22. Let's dig in. All right, so we start triptych number 8 today, our last journey together, the eternal state. Our starting point is a new heavens and a new earth. Our destination is no more tears, no more sorrow. Everyone, a place where everyone glorifies God while they admire and adore Him as Father, trust Him as provider, obey and serve Him as King, and worship Him as God. We should be able to finish this triptych today. My plan is that next week we'll take a few questions. If you have some, I'll throw out a question that we'll start with at least next week. And that's going to wrap everything up. At that point for me, there'll be another teacher that steps forward and another subject and another day. But you can be thinking about that as we wrap this series up. But we've been gearing up for this day for quite some time. I know I've taken about 15 weeks on this topic so far. And we've churned our way through history, and we've even peeked into the future to arrive at this point. And it is a hope that we all have. All who walk with God have this hope. And one of the great kings on earth, one of our greatest kings on earth, other than Jesus Christ, summed it up in one of the most beautiful ways possible. If you think about what King David said in the 23rd Psalm as he ended his psalm, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Forever. Forever. Hope beyond the grave. Life beyond the grave. Fellowship in the presence of God for eternity. So last week we ended with the great white throne judgment, and all of the dead, small and great, stand before God. But all of the dead, small and great, stand before God's throne and the throne of the Lamb, and they are judged on the basis of their works. Those not found written in the Lamb's Book of Life experience the second death and are cast into the lake of fire. Our interest today is in those whose names are written in the Lamb's Book of Life. This is their story. This is our story. It is our privilege. It is the privilege of all whose names are written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Blessed and holy is he over which the second death has no power. This is a resurrection to life. And the Apostle Paul says here in Romans chapter 8 and verse 11, "But if the Spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, he who raised Christ from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies through his Spirit who dwells in you." That experience leads to this forever. This is the eternal state. It is the state of all things eternally after the creation of the new heavens and the new earth. And so that brings us to Revelation chapter 21 and the creation of the new heavens and the new earth. I think you can go to the next one here. There you go. I went ahead and put that whole chart in your notes there for you. But we start with the creation of the new heavens and the new earth. The formation of this new heaven and new earth coincides with the destruction of the old earth, the old heavens. The old earth is what we're sitting on right now in that context, and the old heavens is what you look up and see right now in all of the stars of heaven. And it says in Revelation chapter 21 and verse 1, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. Now that's consistent with what Peter saw when we last time looked at 2 Peter. Peter saw that a fire would burn everything up and the elements would melt with a fervent heat. And he saw the destruction of the heavens and earth. There will be this catastrophic explosion, implosion of everything. And then we'll get to see, and this is exciting, we'll get to see the recreation of everything. Remember when God was speaking with Job, and he kept saying to Job, were you there? Did you see? And, the implied answer that Job was supposed to do was humble himself. No, I wasn't there. I didn't see it. But I think there's the possibility in this situation, since we're resurrected, we have our glorified bodies, that we'll have the same experience the angels had when this earth was created and this heavens was created. And they all rejoiced. The morning stars sang when God created all of those things. So perhaps we will get that same ringside seat, and we'll see the new heavens and earth created, and I am sure we'll do if we have that opportunity, we'll do as much rejoicing as the angels did, I am sure. So there are some very unique features in this eternal state, in this new heavens and new earth. By unique, I mean that there are things true at this point in time in future history. There will be things that are true that aren't true in our current state. And in the eternal state, what has been true since Adam and Eve will be thrown out. And things will change. Things will be different. And they are spelled out in some detail in the last two chapters of the book of Revelation, in chapters 21 and chapter 22. And part of the pattern that we'll see is that God always frequently, he will start with what we know, what we've experienced, what every human has come to understand is the way things are. He always starts with the familiar human experience, and then he throws it out and he gets rid of it. And that's one of the first things mentioned here. There is no more sea. No more sea. Now we know a sea was present at the first creation. There was land and there was sea. And fish filled the seas. In fact, fish were created before men and women were created. And fish inhabited that sea. But it is stated that there is no more sea in this new earth. Verse 1, now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. Also there was no more sea. No more sea. Well, does that mean there's no water? I mean, will there be lakes? It doesn't say. So I don't know for sure whether there'll be bodies of water like lakes. I do definitely know there's nothing like the big ocean that we see today that covers so much of our earth. It does say that there will be a river present on the new earth, but I'm getting ahead of myself, so just wait a second. There is a new glorious city, a new glorious city. It is called the New Jerusalem. Abraham is said to have looked for a city whose builder and maker is God. And I believe this is that city, the New Jerusalem. Remember that Jesus said to his disciples, "In my Father's house are many mansions or rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also." I believe this description of the New Jerusalem is a fulfillment of that promise that Jesus made to his disciples. This is what he built. This is what he made, and it comes down out of heaven to the earth. Here's what we read. "Then I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, 'Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. God himself will be with them and be their God.'" Now this New Jerusalem is said to come down out of heaven to the earth, to this new earth. There are those who believe that this New Jerusalem is suspended over the old earth during the millennium, that it's not actually sitting on the earth. I do believe that the New Jerusalem will be present during the millennium. I don't see a reason it can't be on earth. I don't see any reason why it can't be taken off of the earth to destroy it and put back on the new one. I don't know how all that will work. But I think that's the city the saints are holed up in when there's the giant rebellion and the city is surrounded. And there is the fire that then comes out of heaven and destroys them all. Next, no more tears. No more tears. Next, no more sorrow. No more death. No more sorrow. No more crying. No more pain. And John says, the former things have passed away. The former things have passed away. What are the things? Well, I have to believe that the things are the many things as you can name, that are associated with the curse of sin on mankind and on the earth. Anything that's been affected by the curse, that's passed away. They are no more. No more. Let me read here, starting in verse 4. "And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain. For the former things have passed away." Then he who sat on the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said to me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said to me, It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give of the fountain of the water of life freely to him who thirsts. He who overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. But the cowardly, unbelieving, abominable, murderers, sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire. The inclusion of this list of sinners, I should have kept reading. The lake which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. This list of sinners in verse 8 here again illustrates there's no more sin. There's no more sinful behavior because sin is no more. The former things have passed away. Then the Apostle John turns his attention back to this glorious city, the glorious city revisited. He gives us a few more details about the new heavenly, holy Jerusalem that has descended to the earth. Those details start in verse 9 and they go all the way through verse 21. John is to be shown the bride of the Lamb. It says, Then one of the seven angels who had the seven bowls, remember it's identified as one of the same angels who poured a bowl of wrath out on the earth, right at the end of the tribulation period. He returns 1,000 years later here. And he comes to me and talked with me, saying, Come, I will show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the Spirit to a great and high mountain and showed me the great city. Well, John is supposed to be shown the bride, and yet the focus is not actually on the people, the saints. It's on the city where the saints live. It's the city the saints inhabit. It's the place that the groom built for his bride to inhabit. And so the glorious nature of this city is on display. He showed me the great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God. Her light was like a most precious stone, like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. The city reflects the glory of God, and the reflection of the light in the city is like precious stones which sparkle in the light. One of the reasons that I think we are so drawn to gemstones, so many different gemstones, when you polish them and you cut them and you look at them, gemstones grab the light and they reflect the light in such unique, special ways. And I think that's the point of this new Jerusalem, where the light of the glory of God is seen everywhere, and everything about the city is designed to reflect that light, to show its sparkle. And the saints themselves will also be that sparkle, in that we are still made in the image of God, and we are still to reflect his glory to all around us and to the world. And that'll continue, I believe, in the eternal state. there's much said in here about a jasper stone, but it says clear as crystal. It talks about pure gold, clear as crystal. Someone has said that John was drawing as much as he could on what he was familiar with, which was these gemstones and purest forms of gold. But the diamond had never been discovered yet, and that if John had known of a diamond, he might have used that to help describe all of this sparkle and what it looked like too. The city is surrounded by a great and high wall. Also, she had a great and high wall with 12 gates. There are 12 gates spaced out around the wall, 3 on the east, 3 on the west, 3 on the north, and 3 on the south gates. And the gates, there are 12 angels who are stationed at the gates. And then there is a name written on the gates, and they are named after the 12 tribes of Israel. And it also says that this great wall is built on 12 foundations. The foundations also have names, and they are named after the 12 apostles of Jesus Christ in the New Testament. And the angel who is showing John all of these things has a golden reed to measure the city, its gates and its wall. And so he informs us that the city is laid out as a square. Its length is as great as its breadth. And he measured the city with the reed. The measuring reed shows that the length, or the dimensions of the city, are 12,000 furlongs. Literally, the Greek word is stadia. And the furlong, 12,000 furlongs, computes to approximately 1,380 miles. 1,380 miles. Now I'm going to try and help you picture that or imagine that. Let's imagine for just a moment that one corner of this city sits in Buffalo, New York. 1,380 miles takes you to approximately halfway across Montana. And so let's place the other corner halfway across Montana. If then you went south for another 1,380 miles, you would come to approximately Tucson, Arizona. Then if you headed east, you barely have enough land to travel another 1,380 miles based on these cities that I'm telling you and using you. By the way, the city in Montana I used is Havre, Montana. If you've ever been to Havre, Havre, Montana. But from Tucson, Arizona east, it would touch the outer banks of North Carolina. And then obviously back up to Buffalo, New York. Now, if you try and put that on a map, it's not going to look real squarish. But I'm just trying to give you a perspective. Now, it also goes on to say that its height is as great as its length and width, that this is a cube city. The city is laid out as a square. Its length is as great as its breadth. He measured the city with the reed, 12,000 furlongs. Its length, breadth, and height are equal. Oh, I don't have my globe anymore, but when I've done this little series in other contexts, I've had a little globe in my office. And I constructed a little cube that kind of fit those dimensions I just gave you. and plopped him onto the earth, the current earth, and it dwarfs. It sticks out like this huge bump on the globe. It is huge, this city. Planes flying at an altitude of 52,800 feet would crash into what is in essence the base of the city. It's incredible. The wall around the city is said to be great and high, and we have a dimension. It says it is 144 cubits high. Most people believe that a cubit is around the distance from the elbow to the tip of a finger. Average person, it's about 18 inches, 19 inches. That's going to make this wall approximately 216 feet high. If you've ever been onto the campus of Yale University, there is this tower that is approximately 216 feet high. The Harkness Tower on the campus of Yale. But the whole wall is that tall. It says the wall is constructed of jasper stone. The city is of pure gold. John sees 12 gems in association with the foundation of the wall. Each one gem for each section of the foundation. It says the gates are constructed out of pearl, a big, giant, huge pearl. And it talks about the streets of gold. You've heard that phrase before. It's described here in Revelation chapter 21. The streets of gold. The street of the city was pure gold like transparent glass. And all of this just defies the imagination. It just transcends anything we could possibly envision. And its glory is beyond description. Verse 22, Revelation 21, verse 22, there's no more temple. No more temple in the eternal state. And remember that the earthly temple was always a figurative representation of God's dwelling place and God's presence in heaven. And the Holy of Holies was a visual representation of the throne of God with all of the angels and the tapestry in that particular room. But there's no temple in this eternal state because it says that the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple. And there's no need of a sun or moon to reflect the light because the Lamb is the light. I want to remind you of what we read in Revelation chapter 1 and verse 16 when John was seeing Jesus Christ in that opening scene of Revelation chapter 1. And I think I've got this here, dear. He had in his right hand 7 stars. Out of his mouth went a sharp two-edged sword, and his countenance was like the sun shining with all of its strength. So John had a glimpse into what the countenance of Christ will be like throughout all of eternity. The light that radiates off of him. The Lamb is the light of the New Jerusalem. But I saw no temple in it, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are its temple. The city had no need of the sun or of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of God illuminated it. The Lamb is its light. The nations of those who are saved shall walk in its light, and the kings of the earth shall bring their glory and honor into it. Its gates shall not be shut at all by day. There shall be no night there, and they shall bring the glory and the honor of the nations into it. And there shall by no means enter into it anything that defiles, or causes an abomination or a lie, but only those who are written in the Lamb's book of life. That brings us to chapter 22, and next John sees the river of life. The river of life. This is a river of life which flows from the throne of God and from the Lamb. And he showed me a pure river of water, of life, clear as crystal, proceeding from the throne of God and of the Lamb. This river seems to flow down the middle of the main thoroughfare in the New Jerusalem city. And I don't believe I don't know how big it is for sure, but it may be relatively small in comparison to a city that is 1,380 miles each direction. But, I'm tempted to look at that and think that it's figurative, but it specifically says, he showed me a pure river of water of life. So there is some water, if we take that literally, and it's called the river of life. And in the midst of this river of life is the tree of life. In the middle of its street and on either side of the river was the tree of life, which bore 12 fruits, each tree yielding its fruit every month. The leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations, and there shall be no more curse, but the throne of God and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him. They shall see his face, and his name shall be on their foreheads. There shall be no night there. They need no lamp nor light of the sun, for the Lord God gives them light, and they shall reign forever and ever. So this tree of life sits on the banks of the river, or else the river kind of flows around it, and it may sit in the middle of like an island, because it kind of talks about the river being on both sides of it. But the last time we saw this tree, it was under lock and key and guard of an angel with a flaming sword. Remember that God cast Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden, would not let them go back in, and put an angel to guard it lest they get back in and partake of the tree of life. Because there is some type of healing properties that allow someone to live forever. And if man got back in there and ate that, it would condemn them to an existence that, I'm sorry, I'm getting my wording not like I want it, like I like it. But the point is God subjected the creation to a curse in hope. And if man partook of that tree, there's no hope. There's a hope now that we can die and be resurrected. But I take it's the same tree. It's now back. It was a part of the original creation, but it's never been enjoyed by any of this current creation. And so it's back to be enjoyed for all of eternity. In Revelation chapter 2, verse 7, God promised the saints the right to eat of the tree of life, which is in the paradise of God, verse 7 says. So it has properties and qualities that are very desirable, still desirable, and waiting for the time that man can eat of it. And so it was a literal tree in the Garden of Eden. I take it that it's a literal tree in the eternal state. And its fruit is literal. It can be eaten. And it has therapeutic qualities and value. It says the leaves are for the healing of the nations. So there is some type of a physical benefit from the tree that seems to continue on into eternity. Now, I want to clarify. I don't believe that somehow there is a risk of sickness or disease and you need some type of a cure. I don't think that's the point of the tree. I think it is rather to be praised for its what I'll call therapeutic value. It's a superfruit that keeps everything top condition, top notch. It contributes to the physical well-being of all the saints in the eternal state, is my understanding. That's my interpretation. All right? And so then the rest of Revelation chapter 22 is some charges, some words about Christ and glorifying, and don't change any of this prophecy, and don't add to it, don't subtract from it. And John wraps up the book. But our description of the eternal state, there are really only 3 focuses that we've been given about the eternal state in these 2 chapters. There's the New Jerusalem, there's the river of life, and there's the tree of life, and obviously God and the Lamb present for all of eternity. But that's really all we're given to look at in this eternal state. The New Jerusalem, the river of life, and the tree of life. And that's it. Now, that pretty much wraps up our prophetic journey through the last few weeks. And I thought then that I would give you an opportunity to ask questions. If there was one you missed, something you missed, or something that's still not making sense, if you'd like to go through that little chart that I gave you with the 4 summary views of the end times of the various churches and answer any questions there, we can. But I'm going to throw out a question that we can start with next week. But then next week, we're done. Time for you to look at somebody else's beautiful face, handsome face, and learn some other things here together. But here's the question that I'll throw out and we'll start with. So here we are in the eternal state. We have this great city, the presence of the Lamb. We enjoy his presence forever. The river of life, the tree of life. So what are we going to do for all of eternity? What are we going to do? And we are given a definite hint. And there is a series. Maybe it's something we could do in the future. It's something I would want to run by Pastor Andy and Pastor Joel first. It's a series by Chip Ingram that I watched at Randolph First Baptist Church, Don and I, when we were there at Bethany Camp. He kind of addresses this question, and he has a 4-week series, or a 4-week video series, I think it is, on heaven. What is heaven like? But anytime you start bringing in some other speaker or something like that into the church, you have to be careful. So I don't know if that's worth doing or not, whether I'll satisfy your curiosity next week in answering that question or not. But I've heard it, I saw the series, I pretty much agree with how he approaches it. But that's where we'll start next week. Okay? Very good. See you then. Well, there you have it. We've been able to make our way in this journey all the way through to the end. And I'm so glad that you've been a part. Thank you for making this a part of your study and that you've been able to be here and join me. We have enjoyed teaching it and have done this in several different settings, but find it special each time that we do it. But that's how it all comes together, and we are looking forward to that eternal state where we will be able to enjoy the presence of the Lord for all of eternity, to obey Him and serve Him together, and to know that thus we will ever be with the Lord. He will be our God, we shall be His people. And so until we meet again, we wish you the best and have a great day.